is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
He's a radical left Marxist, communist, fascist. And I did 3 of them today. I did a little one, a little tiny one, and then I did a really big one. I did a big one, and I'm still raring to go.
That's great, Donny. What do you want, a lolly? A little bit too much information there. We could have done without that.
Don't be rude.
Massive floods caused serious damage and power outages on Friday in parts of France's mountainous southeast region after days of heavy rain. French news stations showed cars, traffic signs and cattle being swept away by the floods. I had to slow down there to find that. Swept away by the... Oh, there it is. Floods. I just pulled back the curtain there for a moment. The A47 highway close to Lyon was temporarily transformed into a giant stream of water. Earlier this month in Bosnia, at least 16 people were killed after a storm caused floods and landslides. One local official described the floods as harrowing. The army had to be called in to help with the response. They were going to shoot it. Meanwhile, parts of Antarctica are turning green more quickly than previously thought, leaving scientists stunned. The area covered by vegetation in the Antarctic Peninsula is 10 times larger than it was 4 decades ago, and the pace of change has accelerated by more than 30% since 2016. And Storm Helene, which made landfall in Florida as a deadly Category 4 hurricane at the end of September, carved a 500-mile path of destruction across 6 states, causing catastrophic flooding and killing more than 230 people. Scientists say man-made climate change has worsened the extreme weather that we're seeing all over the globe, but as they are experts in possession of facts, no one was remotely interested in anything they had to say. And for us, Storm Ashley will hit Britain with strong winds and heavy rain this Saturday after undergoing an explosive cyclogenesis in the Atlantic Ocean tomorrow night.
Oh, no.
The storm will strike with winds and gusts of up to 80 miles an hour and could cause injuries and danger to life from flying debris. The Met Office has activated 3 wind warnings from Sunday morning.
Warning.
OK, 2 wind warnings and 1 fog warning. Motoring organisations say that the early morning fog will make it necessary to take precautions. They say you should only turn on your fog lights when you think it makes you look cool, and speed up and tailgate the car in front if you believe that you are so important that nothing you do will have any negative consequences. Of course, if you have changed the muffler on your hatchback to make it noisier, you will already be doing this.
Thank you.
And we appreciate your cooperation. Storm Ashley will rapidly, from tomorrow evening, by explosive cyclogenesis, also known as a weather bomb, make weather. That's what the Met Office said. Can you believe that they paid the big money for this? The Met Office said that there's a good chance that power cuts may occur with the potential to affect other services, such as mobile phone coverage. You won't be able to update your social media feed. Exactly. The Met Office said there will probably be some damage to buildings, such as tiles blown from roofs, while longer journey times and cancellations are likely because road, rail, air and ferry services may be affected. But then road, rail, air and ferry services are always affected by something or other, so you won't notice the difference. It's either too hot or too cold or too wet or too dry. There's always blooming something.
Correct.
And as for the next few days, forecasters say that it will be unsettled for many, with some longer spells of rain in places, and I bet I know which places in particular. I can check on that while you wait, but I don't really see the point, because we know what I'm going to say. One moment, please. Aha! Well, in Glasgow it is raining at the moment. Please don't call me and tell me it isn't, because it is. It will, not be raining tomorrow. You're going to have sun. Pfft, rubbish. It will, however, be raining on Sunday and raining on Monday and raining on Tuesday and perhaps not raining on Wednesday, although I wouldn't put any money on it, but it will be raining on Thursday and raining on Friday and raining on Saturday and raining on Sunday and every day for the rest of your lives. Oh, well, never mind. That's Glasgow. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks for everybody else?
No.
OK, this is for the next couple of weeks, till the end of the month. Turning wet and windy on Sunday with gales or severe gales expected. Winds easing on Monday, a mixture of sunny spells and scattered showers through Monday and Tuesday. Rain for the north and west, in particular the northwest. Drier in the south and the east, becoming more settled towards the end of this month. And then the first half of November. It's almost November. It's practically Jesus' birthday. First half of November, longer spells of dry weather with relatively mild days. Longer spells of dry weather with relatively mild days? We'll take it. This text says, Hussein in Cambridge says, Nick, did you read what Jacob Rees-Mogg wrote on X, formerly known as... that... Its name used to be Twitter. Now it's X, brackets, formerly known as Twitter. And it's written like that everywhere. I'm sure that's what that moon-faced weirdo who runs that site did not have in mind. X, formerly known as Twitter, Smug wrote about the empire's slavery history and the renewed calls for reparations to the former British colonists. Gosh, I wonder what he wrote. Anybody have any idea? Let's read on and find out. Please, would you read this out in his voice? Pretty please with sugar on top. No. And furthermore... No. He said they ought to pay us for ending slavery. It's... It's not something any other country had done, and we were motivated by Christian charity. Oh, smug.
Voters have had enough.
Yeah, and they gave you your marching orders. And still you're speaking. It's incredible. A period of silence would be in order from you, Smug. Let's start with 5 years, and then we'll work, and then we revisit it at that point. What do you say? Tariq in Chertsey says, thanks to Donald Trump this week. There is so much potential material for your show tonight. Here's a number of your choice. 1, in a room full of women, he said that he is the father of IVF. He knows more about IVF than anyone else. He did. He said that. Yeah. He said, and he just before he said that, he said, somebody explained it to me. I said, what is IVF? And they explained it to me. And nobody ever heard of it before. Nobody's been talking about this. I am the father of IVF. Everybody said, people are coming to me and saying, sir. Anytime he says that, you know for sure that what follows, people come up to me and say, sir. What follows is completely made up. And even if he doesn't say that, it's all completely made up. Anyway, that's my choice number 1. Choice number 2. In an interview, he said, I have a very fertile mind, more like filled with fertilizer, says Tariq in Chertsey, who's got his own material. A listener with material. Oh, no. In a question and answer event, he gave up with a Q&A and started dancing on stage to music for over 440 minutes. YMCA was played a number of times. What is it with that man and YMCA? At another one of his safe space demented rallies, he had 2 people come on to the Weather Girls, It's Raining Men. What's that about? I mean, seriously, what is that about? Because I wouldn't have thought that Donald Trump's fans are, okay with the au fait. Not those people. YMCA and It's Raining Men. Maybe Donald Trump's DJ is trolling his audience, but is confident that they're too dumb to realise it. Choice number 4. He told his supporters to vote on January the 5th. Yeah, if only they would. Yeah, keep your vote secret and special until January the 5th, then go out and vote. And at one of his rallies, a rather large ding-a-ling fainted, and as he was being stretchered away, Donald commented that this guy needs to lose weight. Yeah, that guy needs to lose weight. Yeah, sure, that guy needs to lose weight.
Exercising is fun and it's nice.
How do you know? He takes a golf cart to his golf cart. So there was plenty to chew over in America. I mean, okay, he may be the world's worst human being that has ever lived, with maybe 1 or 2 exceptions, but he is albeit unintentionally amusing. Where shall I start? Oh, OK, let's start with the bad news. Fox News' interview with the Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris last Wednesday received blockbuster ratings. The primetime interview between host Brett Baier and Kamala Harris racked up over 7.1 million live viewers, which means it was the most widely watched cable news interview of the 2024 election season, grabbing more eyes than any TV interview Donald Trump has done this year.
Oh, shut up!
Yeah, exactly. Very, very upset. And that's the Donald Trump supporting right-wing Republican biased so-called TV news channel that said that Kamala Harris got a bigger audience than Trump or Thin-Skin, who I imagine flipped to his wig when he heard that.
I don't wear a toupee.
Trump's Wednesday town hall in Georgia, also with Fox News, only garnered 2.9 million viewers. Wow. 7.1 million watched Kamala Harris, 2.9 million watched the world's worst ex-president.
I can be more presidential than anybody.
Yeah. Now, okay, full disclosure, the ex-president's event was at 11 o'clock in the morning, and Kamala Harris's TV news slot was at 6 p.m. in the evening. But, you know, Trump cultists have as much to do at 11 o'clock in the morning as they have at 6 o'clock in the evening. They're sitting on their porch playing music to each other. So those numbers again. Donald Trump on the Donald Trump fan club TV station Fox News could only manage 2.9 million viewers for his unhinged ranting about sharks and Hannibal Lecter and windmills causing cancer.
I know a lot about wind. 2.9
million for the orange tornado, while Kamala Harris got 7.1 million viewers on the same station, over 3 times as many. She beat the tangerine scream on the most important thing to him in the world after money, ratings. Kamala Harris deflated Fat Donnie like a blimp with a slow leak, like a giant wobbling sack of orange lard with a puncture, like a space hopper with a nail in it, like a 3-week-old party balloon.
Oh, shut up!
Just saying. And there's plenty else besides. I mean, I could get into it now, but I'm bumping up against the ads. Mike in Sutton says, "Hi, Nick, can you help? Are Pringle tubes getting narrower or are my hands getting fatter? I'll be honest, it's kept me up all week." I don't know. It's not the aisle in the supermarket that I tend to linger longer in. Are Pringles tubes getting narrower or are my hands getting fatter? It's kept them up all week. Can't get his hand out. Keeps hitting himself in the face with a tube. He goes to scratch his nose and he almost puts his eye out. I don't know, but I'll leave it with me, Mike, and I will investigate further. Have a full report on your desk first thing in the morning. Don't you worry about that. What do you think, Smug?
I don't know anything.
He doesn't know.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
I did a big one.
Yeah, I heard that, Donnie. I heard that. Yeah. Thanks for the information. Terry in Warwick says, "America is a mistake, a very big mistake," said Sigmund Freud. Did he? Well, Sigmund Freud was a nut. Everybody knows that. This text says, "Hey, Nick, did you ever hear about Cristiano Ronaldo playing in Glasgow for Portugal versus Scotland? After the game, autograph hunters chased him down about a mile down the road. I heard he's still drying out his clothes now." Well, lots of different thoughts in there. I think I'll just pass along. Graham in Long Eaton says, "You said last week that you'd never seen a film with Sly Stallone in it. What about Copland? Harvey Keitel, Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, and Sylvester Stallone. Yo, 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 yo. Keep up the good show," says Graham. Sure, why not? No, I've never seen that film, but blimey, what a cast. Harvey Keitel, Ray Liotta, Robert De Niro, and Sylvester Stallone. No, I have not seen that film. And Sam says, "Hey, Nick, any chance of any good news soon?" No, it's not Good News Week, and I'm not Hedgehoppers Anonymous.
Rock and roll!
That has to be the worst name for a band that has ever existed. Hedgehoppers Anonymous. That was the name of the band that did It's Good News Week. Anybody remember that?
No.
Just me. Hedge Hoppers Anonymous. Has there ever been a worse name for a rock band in the history of music? Just asking. What do you think, Smug?
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
He still doesn't know anything. Merthyr Tydfil, hello, Jeff.
Well, I like the concept, Nick. How are you anyway?
Yes, great, mate.
I like the concept of Trump being a space hopper with a nail.
With a nail in it, yeah.
Yeah, because it's the right colour.
It is.
And I can picture a little bit of hair on top.
Yeah.
You know.
If he doesn't win the forthcoming race to be president of the United States of America, you could just grab him by the ears and bounce around the garden.
I thought, the concept of it amused me. But you did your weather again, as usual. Mm-hmm. And look, I'm fed up with phoning up to tell you, you've got to talk about sea temperatures. I'm fed up with listening to Richard Tice, expounding about the how much he knows. Yeah, well,
Richard Tice on the weather. Does anybody want to hear that?
No.
I mean, come on. Stick to your field of expertise, Richard Tice, which is...
Facebook?
I don't know. Hair oil?
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
You just don't. It's a little bit over the top, Richard Tice. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, look, you mentioned one thing, a weather bomb. Now, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds
Cyclogenesis.
Yeah. And the trigger is 27 degrees centigrade.
Is it?
When sea temperatures reach that, they feed the air descending from the centre of the bomb, of the hurricane or whatever, a little hole in the middle.
Right.
It air's rising, comes down, and because it's 27 degrees centigrade, it keeps on going. That's why it stops when it goes over land.
Right. Can I ask you a question about this?
No.
Oh, go on.
All right, then.
Do you have any idea what you're talking about?
Yes.
Is that a no?
Yeah.
Your lips say yes, but I think your tone says no.
What temperature did I just tell you?
27.
Oh, you're a good kid.
I got that.
You're
right.
all right.
Yeah.
And the Atlantic has never been so hot. Right. And nobody is listening to what the University of Oregon has just come out with. They're measuring tripping points where the Earth is moving into some... Yes, you got the moss growing down in Antarctica. You got huge amounts of ice melting.
Yeah.
But they've identified about 34 different types of tripping point, and we've reached 24 of them. I'm getting worried. I'm knocking on a bit. The end of the conveyor belt is approaching, but it's worrying me that I might be experiencing climate change.
Jeff,
you youngsters, you're going to have it, know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jeff, I can absolutely assure you that no one will do anything about climate change until it is too late, and then they will search around to blame something or someone else other than themselves for their own inaction, because that's the human race, that is. We will not put up with any privation in the short term for long-term gain. That's not who we are.
Exactly. Petrochemical industry, immigrants, whatever, everybody's to blame, but nobody's going to do anything.
Correctamundo. Unless you're New York, in which case you are taking the oil companies to court.
Yeah, good.
You hear about that?
Strength to their arm. Yeah. No, I didn't, but full strength to their arm.
Yeah, exactly. All right, thanks a lot, Jeff. Leave it with me. New York State prosecutors could press criminal charges against Big Oil for its role in fueling hurricanes and other climate disasters, lawyers wrote in a new prosecution memorandum that has been endorsed by elected officials across the state of New York. The 50-page document, published by the consumer advocacy group Public Citizen and the Progressive Prosecutors Network Fair and Just Prosecution on Thursday, comes as the U.S. South struggles to recover from the deadly hurricanes Helene and Milton, both of which scientists have found were exacerbated by the climate crisis, which is exactly what Jeff was saying just there. It details the havoc wrought on New York by 2021's Hurricane Ida and 2012's Hurricane Sandy, and other deadly climate events such as, but not limited to, extreme heat waves across the US this past summer. These disasters are fueled by the climate crisis, which is primarily caused by burning of fossil fuels. And a growing body of evidence shows that big oil knew about the climate dangers of its products but promoted them to the public anyway. Their conduct was not just amoral, the memo says it was criminal. And now they're taking them to court, hitting them where it hurts. Just like the tobacco companies, who knew their product was killing its customers, and they went ahead and aggressively promoted the addictive product that was killing its customers. And they were taken to court 100 million deaths later, and they paid fines in the billions. Did the tobacco companies. And none of them went out of business. They're all still there, plugging away, making even more vast fortunes from dealing death. You know, like the weapons manufacturers. There's big money in death. Huge. New York case law demonstrates that conduct like big oils can constitute reckless endangerment. The authors wrote that just a small number of oil and gas companies controlled by a few executives have generated a substantial portion of all planet heating pollution, while deceiving ordinary people about the dangers of their products in marketing, lobbying, and other public-facing communications. It's just a few people making tons and tons and tons of money that will consign the human race to its oblivion. Internal documents show that fossil fuel companies have long understood with shocking accuracy that their products would cause major damage. In 1959, the physicist Edward Teller told oil industry leaders that the projected temperature rise associated with the sector's planned emissions would be devastating for the state. It's been calculated that a temperature rise corresponding to a 10% increase in carbon dioxide will be sufficient to melt the ice caps and submerge New York. That's what he said at a symposium organised by the American Petroleum Institute. 1959. And in 1982, an official at the oil corporation Exxon issued an internal report that found the global heating tied to fossil fuel emissions could cause flooding on much of the US East Coast. You know, people throwing paint at pictures and holding up traffic on a bridge, that's not really the kind of danger that we're in. That's not going to be the it of it. It's going to be much more inconvenient than that. Reckless endangerment occurs when someone engages in reckless conduct that risks injuring or killing another person. And that's exactly what these companies and their CEOs have done, says the Senior Policy Council. But, you know, some of them have changed their logo to include the colour green, so they're off the hook. It's green. Ahmed emails. Why is there so much misinformation about the hurricane in America when the main culprit for fake news is an expert on wind? And Craig emails, did you hear Bodger is going to give Starmer some of his old suits and items from his dressing up box as a gift? Yeah, I don't think those suits come in his size. Yeah, I think he'd be drowning in one of those suits. It would fit him like a tent. Hell, they don't even fit Boris Johnson. How are they going to fit Keir Starmer? How does he get his suits to look like that, by the way? Because I'm sure they look fine when he buys them off the rack. Or maybe he even has them tailored to his own personal shape. Boris Johnson. But how, I don't know, maybe his own personal shape does something weird to a suit. It seems to certainly look that way. Keep your suit on, Boris Johnson, please, at all times. Nobody wants to see that. And David in Teddington says, hi, Nick, I see Downhill, also known as Skier, is proposing overweight people have an injection to help them lose weight and therefore save the NHS millions. Do you think that Mr. Blobby will be interested in taking up the offer? Any thoughts, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
You can't comment on that. Blah, 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 blah. But as soon as he does a generic, it will become obvious.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hello.
Bill in Northern Ireland says, hi Nick, after brushing my teeth in the shower last week, I have been continuing with my quest for new experiences. I had Protestant sausages for lunch today. It turns out Protestant sausages are every bit as delicious as Catholic sausages. I'm delighted, says Bill in Northern Ireland. Arr, arr, arr. And I was concerned that I perhaps did not know what a Protestant sausage or a Catholic sausage actually is. So before I read that out, you will be delighted that I did homework. Can you believe that?
No.
So I looked it up on the World Wide Web. I typed in Protestant sausage into a Google search engine, and it came up with the affair of the sausages was a key event in the Protestant Reformation in Switzerland that took place on March the 9th, 1522. Would you like to hear more?
No.
Toby in Islington says, "Hi, Nick, I suggest you go and watch Copland this weekend. It's one of the best movies ever made." Well, I seriously doubt that. Chris in Stubbington says, "How many more of these have we got to go?" Oh, my God, so many of them. Everybody communicates with this show using their thumbs, not their mouth. Chris in Stubbington says, "Hi, Nick, my local council is cutting £80 million from roads, buses, libraries, even rubbish tips, and turning streetlights off from midnight till 5 a.m. What's the point of streetlights now? Councils are collapsing." What's the point of streetlights? What, so you can see where you're going? So you can see who your mugger is. Your local council's cutting £80 million from roads, buses, libraries, and rubbish tips. But it'll just be a rubbish tip and turning streetlights out. Well, you know, there's cuts and cuts and cuts. And Keir Starmer is facing a cabinet revolt over plans to impose huge cuts on departments in the budget. A group of the most senior government ministers, including but not limited to Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, have raised concerns to the Prime Minister about the impact of potential cuts. They said several top Labour figures are said to have bypassed Chancellor Rachel Reeves to raise the alarm by sending formal letters direct to Skier. They said, "Hey, wake up. You're the Labour Prime Minister, not Fishy Sunak's bag carrier." You remember Fishy Sunak, don't you?
No.
Yeah, he's not a very memorable person, apart from, you know, when he showed he didn't know how to use a credit card. Like when he's never been actually shopping himself. And when he asked a homeless person if he was in business. And when he departed number 10 richer than when he went in. We recall that, but flash forward from that government to the current one, and Starmer is eyeing up plans to slash some departments' spending plans by up to 20%, which sounds quite conservative, big C, to me. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, who was also the Housing, Communities and Local Government Secretary, in order to save money. She's been repurposed halfway through the day. She's said to have been joined by the Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood and Transport Secretary Louise Haigh in raising concerns. But, you know, these are just women, so they shouldn't worry their pretty little heads about it. Eh, Bodge? Yeah. Ain't that right, Liz?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's not uncommon for there to be discussions within the Cabinet and between ministers and Treasury ahead of the budget, but sending formal letters to the Prime Minister is not common at all. And they trotted out the catchphrases. You know, difficult decisions, tough choices, black hole, the usual.
Boring.
It's getting a bit old now. But the fact that the public doesn't want to hear it doesn't make the state of the nation go away, you know. The Tories spent the last 14 years setting fire to the place. There's no point in the firemen arriving to say now that they're here, everything's all right, if all that's left are smoking embers. I mean, the fire might be out, but the rebuilding takes much more time and money than ruining it took. And the people that set the fire now have a full-time job blaming the firemen for the blaze. Isn't that right, Bodge?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, writing columns about it he is. How about you, Liz?
I'm genuinely unclear.
Yeah, she's still unclear. I think she's been hit in the head by a falling beam. On Tuesday, the Chancellor told the Cabinet that filling the £22 billion black hole inheritance from the previous government would only be enough to keep public services standing still.
Oh, fabulous.
Which isn't good enough. We're in for a lot of pain, a lot of difficult decisions. It's going to be very, very hard. Stu in Ascot says, Nick, Hedge Hoppers Anonymous were members of the RAF, hence the name. Really? Why were they called hedge hoppers? Is that what a plane is called in the RAF? Like a prop plane, for instance, like a small one. Hops between hedges. No idea. Lucy in Balham says, who knows more about wind, Trump or Richard Tice? I don't know, but I wouldn't want to be in the same room as them when they fight it out. Chris in Stubbington says, oh no, I've read that. It's £80 million from roads and buses and libraries and even rubbish tips. I'm amazed that you've still got roads and buses and libraries and rubbish tips in Stubbington, if indeed there is such a place. This says, hi Nick, a couple of weeks back you said you'd never seen a prisoner with arrows on their clothes. No, I didn't. I don't think I've ever been in a kitchen with the black and white chessboard tiles like you see on the adverts, says that person. I don't think I've ever been in a kitchen with black and white chessboard tiles like you see on the adverts. Well, it's not really the sort of thing that I concentrate the most on when I'm in a kitchen, what the tiles are like on the floor. But I must have been, and so must have you. And I never, ever, ever said I have never seen a prisoner with arrows on their clothes. That is fake news. That was somebody else, not me. Seriously, is anybody interested in talking to this show using anything other than their fingers and thumbs, like with their mouth, for instance? The texts are just piling up. You need wings to stay above them. Jim in Hassock's texts. Nick, band names. How about Toronto's expanding headband? There's always... No, Tonto's. No, not Toronto's. Tonto's expanding headband has always been my favourite. Well, I think you'd be hard pressed to get anything worse than that. Tonto's expanding headband, is that worse than Hedge Hoppers Anonymous? I don't think it is. I'm not sure. I'm going to say no. And furthermore...
No.
No, it's a no from me. And Matt in High Wycombe says, so our car insurance has increased 19% in the EU compared with 82% in the UK in the 3 years since May 2021. And one of the reasons quoted for this rise is claims due to pothole damage. He says, let's break this down. You pay your taxes to keep the roads maintained, which they're not. Your car then gets damaged by potholes. You then claim on the insurance, and of course you have to pay the excess. And then as a result of the claim you dared to make, your car insurance goes up. Isn't life just great? No, Matt, it's not. But it's all we've got until something better comes along. Yeah, well, that's just one of the exciting new ways in which this country is feeling the effects of leaving the European Union. Investment is another one. Shall I talk to you about the difference in investment pre and post leaving the European Union?
No.
You don't want to hear about that? Oh, okay, then. I didn't think you would, but, I've got it in reserve if you do. We're just missing the not inconsiderable sum of £44 billion. That's all.
What?
Yeah, £44 billion that France got that we didn't. France still part of the European Union. Inward investment into France. Their vital infrastructure. £44 billion more than we got. And that's probably the reason why the libraries are closed and the potholes are not fixed and the street lights are off and the NHS is closed for your convenience and, all the rest of it. It's all about the money, honey. That's what it's all about. But Skier, please do keep droning on about growth while ignoring the one thing that would increase this country's growth massively, and we'd be up to our eyeballs in cash. But, he's dead set against that because the Daily Mail would have a fit that you could see through concrete if he even just mentioned the word Europe. Fleet in Hampshire. Hello, Kirsty.
Oh, hi, Nick. You said no one was calling and I felt a bit sorry for you and thought I would phone in and say hello.
Yes. Well, hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. I mean, the reason most of us messages we're half asleep this time of the night. Well, I am anyway.
Half asleep? It's not even 11 o'clock yet.
Yeah, but that's late for me. Anyway, I was just telling your receptionist, or whatever he's called, about the benefits of potatoes. You've mentioned this before.
Have I?
And
the benefits?
Yeah, the good feeling you get when you eat potatoes.
Yeah, it's like drugs.
Exactly.
Yeah, it gives your brain a little bit of a spangle. Yeah, chips.
Exactly. Well, there is a chemical called tryptophan in potatoes and chips and
I'm a
blah, blah, blah.
big fan of tryptophan.
Yeah, me too. And it stimulates the serotonin in the brain and makes us feel happy.
Wow. Groovy. That sounds great. I'd love a couple of pints of that right now, as a matter of fact.
Well, I Googled it after you were going on about it ages ago.
Going on?
Well, yeah, you were trying to cook a roast potato in an air fryer and...
It's impossible, it can't be done. Air fryers are rubbish for cooking potatoes. They just can't do it.
Well, I haven't tried one myself, but... Anyway, I hope some other people call in, Nick, because I felt terribly sorry for you.
Okay, nothing to feel sorry about, Kirsty. I'm a trained professional. I'll be able to work through it. Cheers, my dear. Text from Chris says, Hedgehoppers Anonymous. The band was formed by 5 guys who were in the RAF Transport Command, hence the name. People keep saying, hence the name. What's that got to do with the RAF? Hedgehoppers Anonymous. He says, I worked with a guy who served with the band members who told me they got into lots of trouble over the song's lyrics. Not a huge surprise. Well, wait one moment, please. I'm going to check on this. What were the lyrics? Hedgehoppers Anonymous. It's Good News Week. Lyrics. Good News Week song lyrics. It's Good News Week. Someone dropped the bomb somewhere. Oh, right. Contaminating atmosphere and blackening the sky.
Oh, no.
It's Good News Week. Somebody's found a way to give the rotting dead a will to live, go on and never die. Blimey, is this in the best possible taste?
No.
Have you heard the news? What did it say? Who's won that race? What's the weather like today? Well, I've been through that already. It's rubbish. It's like blooming winter outside. It's Good News Week. Families shake the need for coal by stimulating birth control. We're wanting less to eat. What's coal got to do with birth control apart from they rhyme? It's Good News Week. Doctors finding many ways of wrapping brains in metal trays to keep us from the heat. Does that make sense?
No.
And then more about the bomb and the weather and birth control. Yeah, thanks very much, Hedgehoppers Anonymous, but we'll continue without you. This text says, not a fab. That's what it says. Maybe fan. Not a fan of Sliced Alone myself. However, I just watched the series Tulsa King, in which he stars, and he is brilliant in that. Totally changed my opinion of him, and now I like him, says that anonymous texter. And Malcolm in Bodmin says, hold on there, Nick. It's way too soon to criticise Labour. At least wait to the end of the show. Yeah. Please leave your phone numbers, and I'll call you back after the show and criticise Labour then. How does that sound? Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall will press ahead with a £1.3 billion in annual cuts to UK sickness benefits announced by the previous Conservative government. The Labour government is expected to retain contentious changes to the work capability assessment that were introduced last year by the then Prime Minister Fishy Sunak. A continuation of the Tory nastiness that people voted for. Oh, that's right. Yeah, they didn't. Yeah. It was the opposite of that we wanted, but, you can't win them all, or in fact, any of them.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
What's he got to be depressed about?
Oh, everything. Can we talk about everything?
No.
Phil in Accrington says, hi, Nick, have you heard the right-wing media having a cow about German Thomas Tuchel being appointed as the England manager? Yes, I have, and I find myself in the difficult position of agreeing with them.
What?
Yeah. It just seems a bit weird, doesn't it? I mean, I'm not doing a faux patriotic thing. I'm not standing here going to sing God Save the Bloomin' King. That's not the point of this. It just seems a bit strange that if all the players have got to be English in an international tournament, then surely the next most important person in the team, the manager, should be English as well. Doesn't it? Seems to make sense to me. I mean, the big problem that the FA have got, though, is that we haven't got any good managers. I mean, when was the last time an England manager actually won anything? Alf Ramsey, 1966. It was blooming ages ago. If you give me a calculator, I'll work out precisely how long ago it was. That's the problem, is we just don't produce good managers in this country for whatever reason. They make it too difficult to pass the test, or they know that even if they do pass the test, they'll be managing some second division team in the middle of nowhere, because all the good jobs go to the international star managers. And plus, anybody that's spent any time in this country knows what an absolutely ruinous job for your health, wealth and happiness it must be to be the England manager, because the pressure on you all the time, constantly criticising. I mean, you've got to be a really strong person to put up with all of that. It also means that you'd have to be a pretty unemployed person to want to take that job in the first place, if you were an English person. I mean, if you're a foreigner, then, you just come in, do a couple of years, but I've got no idea, so I'll make it up, £10 million, or there or thereabouts, enough to keep you in waistcoats from now until the end of time. And if you're a foreign manager, then you just flit away at the end of your brief tenure, and it doesn't really bother you. I think that there should be an England manager for the England team. I mean, that just makes sense, doesn't it? But again, I'm not doing a fake patriotic thing here. I don't care about that part. It just seems otherwise. I mean, why stop there? Why can't we have foreign players who play in England? No, it don't make no sense to me to have a foreign manager. It's either the England team or it isn't. Pick one. 0345 6060 973. Let's see now. Now I've got a tsunami of people who are all eagerly waiting on my attention. Maidstone. Hello, Tony.
Hi, Nick.
Tony.
Oh, God, my throat. I've got this cough that you've got. Excuse me. No, honestly, I was like, oh, God, it's me. Yeah, I know. It's like the Budweiser advert with the frogs. Anyway, you were just talking about the England manager appointment, which is not what I wanted to call up about, but I'm going to take credit for this. I remember having a conversation with you when we lost in the World Cup final. I was very drunk at the time, and I was sure it would be Arsene Wenger. And you was like, no chance. No chance. I was convinced it would be a foreign new manager, and I'm quite happy with the appointment. But you've had not your show in particular, but I've heard so many people say, oh, it's German, even if we win the next World Cup or the Euro final, because it's a German, they can't take it seriously, and I just think it's pathetic.
Yeah, that part is pathetic. Yeah, of course it will be all about the lads on the pitch, and the lads done great. It's all credit to the manager and the fans and the lads. But it just seems to be a bit strange for an international competition, for our international team, or our national team rather, to be led by foreign manager. It just sits oddly with me.
Yeah, I know what you mean, but I thought someone like Eddie Howe would have been a good choice, but obviously none of the English...
he's busy. We don't have hardly any good English managers at all, and the ones that are any good, they're very busy at the moment. He wouldn't want to take on that job. Why would he want to do that?
I don't think it really matters who the manager is. I think if they put me and you, or me or you in charge, I think we'd do a good job. No, honestly, you just go attack, do what you do in your normal days with your normal clubs. Mm-hmm. Honestly, yeah. I'm glad it wasn't Lee Carsley, because we lost to Greece, didn't we? Anyway. I just want to say I had the pleasure of meeting Liam Payne once in 2010. I don't want to bring the show down, but him and Harry Styles were the only one who wanted to talk, and I just think it's absolutely tragic what happened to him in the week. And Simon Cowell released a statement, and I thought it was quite beautiful, actually. So that was awful news, and I think a lot of people have been affected by that. But if anyone's listening that know him, I think it's incredibly sad, and my sympathies go out to them. That's all I wanted to say. And also, completely change the subject again. Keir Starmer, why won't he take the risk with a second referendum?
He can't even bring himself to say the word Europe, never mind about having a second referendum. Are you joking? He seems to be. He seems to have his.
Why can't he take a risk?
I don't know. He's got from now until 2029 to do pretty much anything he blooming well wants. And why he is so timorous of moving forwards, I just don't know. He seems weirdly perturbed about the possibility of some bad press from the right-wing newspapers who are going to hate him regardless of what he does. He could cure cancer and they'd say, God, why did it take you so long?
Yeah, but do you know what, Nick? I've got some actually information here. Now, I have the YouGov poll app, YouGov app.
Yeah.
So I've been voting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Apparently, I've done my thing, I've got them written down, bear with. 58% of people in this country, according to a YouGov poll, want to return to the EU. So why won't he look more into it more seriously? Because it's ruined our country.
Well, it has done nothing good. That is absolutely true. I think he is. I don't know. He seems to be weirdly concerned about the Farages.
I'm a nutcase.
And what danger they pose to his party, I've got absolutely no idea. But he seems to have convinced himself that they do.
Yeah, but it really annoys me. It probably annoys you, but why can't he take a risk? I don't know, because everyone wants it, and even if he did lose the second referendum, he's still going to be Prime Minister. But, people know, you get all the, it really annoys me, Nick.
Tony, you'd have to be some sort of ocean-going chump to want a second referendum.
We should have a second referendum.
I mean, what kind of an idiot would say out loud that we want a second referendum?
We should have a second referendum.
I mean, you'd have to be some sort of moron to say out loud in public that we should have a second referendum.
We should have a second referendum.
But apart from that, it's a no from Skier. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Tony. 0345 6060 973. How is Brexit going, by the way?
Brexit's going great.
Glad to hear it. Sylvester says, budget black hole, they should try running Kickstarter, an easy way to raise some funds. And, well, yeah. And this text says, one of the best bands in the world, Fat Freddy's Drop from New Zealand. You're talking about a bad name for a band. I always like that name, Fat Freddy's Drop. I don't quite know what it means, but I just like the way it sounds.
Rock and roll!
Fat Freddy's Drop. I do believe that they have a new album out, which, if it's anything like their old albums, will be just the very thing. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk, and if you are on WhatsApp, it's the same number as the phone, 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10, Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
My dog's been taken. He's a great guy. He's a good guy. He's a good person.
Thanks, Donny. You're the best. Labour's poll lead over the Tories has fallen to just 5 points as voters show their memories have deserted them after only 100 days free of the catastrophic clown show which exited stage right as the wheels came off their comedy collapsing car. The public have already forgotten about
this government,
about that government, and about the one before.
Absolutely.
And the one before that.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
And having forgotten all that, the public is now showing its dissatisfaction with the Labour Party because they have not fixed in 14 weeks what the Tories smashed to bits over 14 years. Thanks a lot, Keir Starmer.
Boo!
A new survey by Technee puts Skier's party below 30 points, little more than 3 months since his landslide. A separate poll by YouGov shows that almost 4 in 10 voters believe that the country has got worse in the last 100 days. Worse? What exactly has worsened in the last 100 days? I mean, come on. Starmer quelled the far-right riots. He introduced legislation to improve workers' rights, which is important if you work. He introduced a bill to renationalise the railways and bring buses under local control, to speed up house building, to reform the House of Lords, invest in our infrastructure, cancel the stupidly expensive Rwanda gimmick. He set about fixing the prisons crisis. He ended the NHS junior doctors and train drivers strikes. He had Taylor Swift escorted through traffic by police escort, and Angela Rayner, his deputy, had it large in Ibiza, annoying all the right people. I mean, what more do you want? Building a place is a lot harder than smashing a place up. And what thanks does he get? In this poll, just 9% say that in his first 100 days in charge of Britain, things have got better. And not even a quarter of those who voted Labour in July have seen an improvement. I mean, this is just silly now. Of course you don't see an improvement. He's a politician, not a wizard. What were you expecting? Double rainbows with every sunset and a shower of cash falling from your ceiling? But in better news, there is majority support for having done a deal to stop strikes by NHS doctors, and limiting arms sales to Israel amid the war in Gaza, and lifting the onshore wind farm ban, and maintaining the 2-child benefit cap. Yeah, that one received 57% positivity rating. Maintaining the 2-child benefit cap rated 57%. And to keep all this in context, Starmer's ratings aren't remotely as bad as those for the last government, or the one before that, or the one before that. I wonder why. But most of the public is still willing to give Skier and his team at least the benefit of the doubt at this early stage of his premiership. The benefit of the doubt. Reality strikes. There is hope for the human race. Okay, maybe that's going a bit far. Maybe not hope. This text from Luke in Bath says, can we please just refer to him as Robert Generic? Because that's just funnier. Or Robert Generic, I think is probably what he meant. I screwed that one up. Sorry about that, Luke. My apologies.
I am very sorry that I screwed up.
Totally screwed up.
I mean, I am so sorry. You just don't know how sorry I am.
I'm sorry. Rochester. Hello, Adrian.
Oh, hi, Nick.
Adrian.
Yeah, it's just a quick one. Having enjoyed your show so much over the past couple of years, the opportunity came along to help you out with a bit of trivia.
Okay.
Hedgehoppers Anonymous.
Yes.
Yeah, the reference in the RAF is to very low-level flying. So It's the fiction that you're flying so close to the ground that you have to pull up even to get over hedges.
Right.
Which is crazy, because the dam busters were, 150 feet, and that was considered very low.
Yes, that's almost Tom Cruise territory there, hopping over hedges.
Yeah. It's complete fiction, but it's just a vivid way of saying very low-level flying.
Right. And they were in the RAF, the Hedgehoppers Anonymous.
Yes.
Right.
Takes them back to the 60s, and everyone in great fear of being annihilated by the H-bomb at any minute.
Yeah. How
nice
things have
living in such peaceful times now instead.
How things have changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that, Adrian. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. There you are. You see, educational. No. Alan in Lincolnshire says, "What did we do before November 1993? What did we ever do before November 1993? In relation to what? What am I missing?" I'll ask my glamorous assistant, because he is the receptacle of all information.
What was the question again?
He said, no idea. What are you asking us for? We just work here. This text says, blooming foreigners coming over here taking our jobs. Well, that's right, yeah. And he will remain a blooming foreigner if we continue to do our losing streak. If we win, of course, then he'll be the best person that has ever been invented. And Kath in North Wales texts, Nick, I think you are being too hard on the Great Orange One. He is like a smart person. He has the best words and he is cognitively there. Well, I do believe he performed a test which proved that without a shadow of a doubt.
And it was 30 or 35 questions. The first questions are very easy. The last questions are much more difficult. Like a memory question, it's like you'll go person, woman, man, camera, TV. So they say, could you repeat that? So I said, yeah. So it's woman, camera, TV. Okay, that's very good. If you get it in order, you get extra points. Okay, now he's asking you other questions, and then 10 minutes, 15, 20 minutes later, they say, remember the first question? Not the first, but the 10th question? Give us that again. Can you do that again? And you go, woman, man, person, man, camera, TV. If you get it in order, you get extra points. They said nobody gets it in order. It's actually not that easy, but for me it was easy. And that's not an easy question. In other words, they ask it to you, they give you 5 names and you have to repeat them, and that's okay. If you repeat them out of order, it's okay, but you know, it's not as good. But then when you go back about 20, 25 minutes later and they say, go back to that question, they don't tell you this, go back to that question and repeat them. Can you do it? And you go, camera, man, person, woman, TV. They say, that's amazing. How did you do that? I do it because I have like a good memory, because I'm cognitively there.
He's cognitively there, Melania.
I don't care.
Just as long as he's not physically there. Melania's not remotely interested. Different bedrooms of different palaces in different states. If she could, she'd be in a different country. This text says, Half Man, Half Biscuit is a better band name. Yes, that is a very strange... Where that came from, I have no idea. But I bet the internet knows. Half Man, Half Biscuit. Yeah, I remember them. This message coming in from next door. By the way, the actual answer to the 1993 question was when the EU started. Oh. You mean, what did we talk about and complain about before the EU started in 1993? Right. Well, just before the campaign to get us out of Europe, nobody, not one single solitary person in this country, would have put our membership of the European Union as the top of their list of concerns. It was certain oily charlatans who persuaded us that being out would be better than being in. And how's that going, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, not that great. Apart from for the oily charlatans who are doing just super. Thanks for asking. 0345 6060 973. Brighton, Joe.
Hi.
Yes, Joe.
Hi. I think, like you've been saying, that they are actually in power. Keir Starmer hasn't realised he's actually in power. He has no need to worry about right-wing newspapers, because he should show some balls, you know. And should I explain that to you, Nick?
Explain it to me.
Right. In America at the moment, you've got the Google case, where they're saying that Google might be split up as a monopoly because they control most of the advertising online.
Yeah.
So why doesn't he do this?
Do
like
what?
Other countries now call owners of newspapers foreign agents. He should force every right-wing newspaper owner living on a yacht, not based in the UK, to sell their newspaper. Do that. You're in power. Show some balls. Do it. And then then the Daily Mail will behave itself, and then the Daily Telegraph will behave itself, because he's worrying about these newspapers' little influence, but they shout loud online.
Yeah.
That's what he's worried about. So just show some balls. That's what Jeremy Corbyn was going to do. But he, like you said, they tortured him.
Yeah, well, as soon as Jeremy Corbyn said that he was considering breaking up the overall control of most of our national news outlets in the hands of a very few number of offshore billionaires, as soon as those words there or thereabouts fell from Jeremy Corbyn's lips, then those very same offshore billionaires levelled their cannons at him and they pounded away until they got rid of him. Thanks a lot, Joe. Please don't say the word balls anymore. Chris in Middlesbrough says, the reason why roast spuds aren't any good in the air fryer is because you're not doing it properly. Just cut them up a bit smaller, whack it up to full heat, a touch of oil, shake them halfway through, Bob's your auntie. No, he isn't. Well, I thought I'd tried everything. I mean, I tried parboiling them first and then, like, roughing up the, like Jamie Oliver. I did all that. I tell you what is great, though. It was kind of like a revelation. I followed Jamie Oliver's advice for roast potatoes, and about halfway through the cooking process, you pull them out of the oven and you smash them with one of those potato mashers. You don't obliterate them, you just sort of open them up a bit, and then you pour a lot more oil on, and then you put them back in the oven. Oh, and you put Parmesan cheese over. Oh, that is great. Oh, I could do with some of those right now. But I can't have them. Susan texts, "Hi, Nick. I just wondered, what's your favourite AC/DC song?" Well, that's just very, very hard. But I mean, the one that immediately pops into my mind is Back in Black. But I guess that's everybody's favourite AC/DC song, so that's a bit of a cop-out. So leave that one with me. East Yorkshire. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick. Yeah. A couple of bits that were prompted by some homework you'd done earlier on.
Yes.
When the Workers' Rights Bill was presented, you got a whole load of Tory representatives coming on, obviously scripted, saying, no, we don't want to do this. This will make us like France. And look at the rights that the workers have in France.
Yeah.
How France gets no investment at all. We don't want workers' rights, and you just proved them completely wrong.
Yes.
It's used again.
No, I couldn't agree more. Yeah. I mean, the fuss has been made over workers' rights as though the workers aren't the people that actually make the companies that they are employed by go round. I mean, you can have great management, but if you haven't got any workers on the shop floor actually doing the physical work, then you ain't got nothing. But it appears that management can do anything they like. They can strip the company bare and they can break it up for parts and sell it on for a profit, and that's fine. And they can reward themselves with the kind of bonuses that come in figures like telephone numbers. And they can buy back their own shares in order to increase the share price, which will trigger more bonuses for executives. And all that is completely fine, which all seems pretty underhand and like borderline criminal to me. But as soon as the workers ask for a 1 day off for a holiday, or they don't like the idea of working for 26 hours a day and paying the mill owner 3p a day for the privilege of working there, then the right-wing press have a cow you could see from space.
Yeah, it's absolutely dead right on that. The other bit of homework that you did was the viewing figures for Trump and Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
Now, the funny thing was this week, Kamala Harris did a rally, and some dinglings had got in.
That's right.
And we're giving her a load of abuse, and their put one was brilliant, because she just said, I think, guys, you're at the wrong place. You should be at the smaller event down the road.
Down the road, yeah. I know. It was so good, it was almost like it was set up, but that's probably fake news.
And the other bit from America, have you seen Trump trying to explain inflation with the big packet of Tic Tac and the little one?
Yes.
It's hilarious, because he normally does the accordion thing.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he doesn't. He does like the home pipe. The big packet goes up, little packet goes down. And he's trying to explain inflation, but it isn't inflation. What he should have been trying to explain was shrinkflation.
Yes.
Because they've got smaller.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and half of America wants that man to be their leader.
I can be more presidential than anybody.
It's just incredible to me. I just can't believe it. What is going on in their minds? What information are they receiving that we can't see over here?
Did you see the interview where Trump said something and all the people on the couch fell about laughing?
Well, he said
something like, "I tell the truth."
I'm a very honest person, he said. His interviewer laughed. Couldn't help himself. Yeah. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Mike. 0345 6060 973.
I'm a person that wants to tell the truth. I'm an honest person.
LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
He thinks he looks good in a bathing suit. He doesn't.
Damien in Sweden says, "Hi, Nick. Have you watched the Apprentice movie about Donald Trump yet?" No, I haven't. But I read the column from the man who hired Donald Trump to be in the Apprentice. And it's a column that serves as an apology to both the American people and the world in general. The former chief marketer for NBC TV has apologised to the American people for giving them Donald Trump by helping to sell the programme The Apprentice myth to the American people. He said, "I want to apologise to America. I helped create a monster," writes John D. Miller in a piece entitled, "We created a monster. Trump was a TV fantasy invented for The Apprentice." He wrote this for US News and World Report. He said, "For nearly 25 years, I led marketing at NBC and NBC Universal. I led the team that marketed The Apprentice, the reality show that made Donald Trump a household name outside of New York City, where he was better known for overextending his empire and appearing in celebrity gossip columns." He goes on to state that his team created the narrative that Trump was a super successful businessman who lived like royalty, which was, he said, a substantial exaggeration that created a false narrative by making him seem more successful than he actually was. This is the only thing that Donald Trump has actually been a success at, pretending to be a success. John D. Miller, the former chief marketer for NBC, the TV channel on which The Apprentice showed, points out that Donald Trump had to declare bankruptcy 4 times before the show premiered, and at least twice over the course of its 14 seasons. He said the imposing boardroom where he famously fired contestants was a set because Donald Trump's real boardroom was too old and shabby for television. Miller states that Trump was the perfect choice for the show because more successful chief executive officers were too busy to get involved in a reality TV show and didn't want to hire random game show winners into their executive teams. Yeah, that makes sense. Meanwhile, Trump had no such concerns and plenty of time for filming, says Miller. The former chief marketer for NBC, John Miller, said, "I discovered in my interactions with Donald Trump over the years that he is manipulative, yet extraordinarily easy to manipulate. He said he has an unfillable compliment hole." Oh, really? He said, "No amount of compliments is too much. Flatter him and he is compliant. World leaders, including apparently Russian strongman Vladimir Putin and North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, have discovered that too." Miller calls Trump a remarkably thin-skinned person and describes his adversarial relationship with the show. The future president would claim that the show was number 1 in the ratings, even when the numbers refuted that claim. Not surprisingly, Trump was full of bad suggestions for the show. He wanted to make a team of black players compete against a team of white players.
Warning, warning.
Miller tried to convince him against it by appealing to Trump's greed and telling him that it would alienate sponsors. He said, "While we were successful in marketing The Apprentice, we also did irreparable harm by creating the false image of Trump as a successful leader. I deeply regret that," writes the former chief marketer for NBC. He says, "And I regret that it's taken me so long to go public. Now America is facing a critical choice. Should this elderly would-be emperor with no clothes, who is well known for stretching and abandoning the truth, be president again?" He says, "I spent 50 years successfully promoting television magic and making mountains out of molehills every day. But I say now to my fellow Americans, without any promotional exaggeration, if you believe that Trump will be better for you or better for the country, that is an illusion, much like The Apprentice was." Yeah, it's a little bit late now, mate. But thanks for the apology.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. If it makes you feel any better, I suppose so. Let's see now. Cambridge, Hassan.
Hello.
Hassan.
Nick.
Yes, sir.
we don't deserve a visionary like Keir Starmer. I think he's come up with such clever ideas that, like sending job coaches into psychiatric wards to encourage people to come out and start working immediately. And then Wonder Boy Wes Keating had his brilliant idea of giving weight loss jabs to overweight people, etc. So I think we just need to see how incredible this guy's vision is.
I'm not sure about those. I don't know anything about this or any other subject, but it strikes me that maybe a weight loss jab isn't the best thing to introduce into your person. I mean, I guess if you've tried absolutely everything else, then you might want to give it a go, like eating less, for instance, or moving about more. But giving yourself an injection that makes you eat less, does that sound like a great step forward in human health?
Yeah, no, if Wes is saying it, it must be. It must be.
Right.
And then, I think you also talked about whether Starmer should consider sort of rejoining the EU. I think that's a surefire way to encourage the deadly duo of Nigel Farage and Boris Johnson into a strange sort of couple walking into Downing Street.
That's just a horrible image. So, like skipping in there hand in hand?
Yeah, exactly. Over the dead bodies.
To have their merry way with this country. Ugh.
Yeah, again. And one other thing, you were talking about foreign investment into the country, and I looked up, and what was remarkable is that one of the top 3 countries is plucky Luxembourg, which gets about $3 trillion of foreign direct investment, because it's a magical country where when money comes in and money goes out, suddenly all the taxes disappear.
Yeah, they disappear, yeah. I think it also is a centre for the gold trade, isn't it? I mean, it's a very, very dull place. There's no doubt about that.
Boring.
Unless it's changed dramatically since I lived there for 6 months. It's just so boring. It's just a big bank. And they have banks there like you wouldn't believe. Like not banks like in this country, where they'll have like a Formica like shelf that you go up to, and there's a piece of plastic. See-through plastic between you and the server. It's not like that at all. They are palaces to money. I mean, they will stop you in your tracks. I mean, they're like cathedrals of money.
No, absolutely, and I think this is what a lot of these people believe, that the UK should be heading in the direction, right?
Yeah.
That there should be very low corporate taxes so that people come in and they don't have to pay these nasty taxes, and they invest in sort of growing all the workers' salaries. So I think that's right. But I think it's also interesting that Starmer has been having some tough time on the electoral polls. He has lost 1/3 of the seats that he has contested on the by-elections, and even the Tories are making a comeback.
Well, let's not get carried away. I think we might want to read a few more results before we start seeing life in the Conservative Party again, eh, Bodge?
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, no, that parrot is dead on arrival.
Yeah. No, 70, in fact, more than 70, I think. But by-elections have happened since July. So the numbers, Labour is down. They've lost 17 of 51 contests. And the Tories have gained 14, which is deeply worrying for everybody who believes in democracy.
Yeah.
So
anybody with a breath in their body, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Hassan. Cheers, mate. 0345 6060 973. Hey, don't forget to remind me to give you the organ donor story. Did you hear? Wow. I've barely ever read anything quite so alarming. The organ donor story. Don't forget to remind me, because I will forget. Andy in Horsham says, hey, Nick, did Liz Truss ever sort out the disgraceful cheese situation?
That is a disgrace.
And I do believe that it remains a disgrace, so no, she didn't. I mean, I could ask her, but she'll probably be unclear.
I'm genuinely unclear.
Yeah, still very, very unclear. She's still trying to come round after being hit in the head with a blunt object. We don't know when it happened, but we've observed the effects with our own eyes. I'll restate my case. She looks like a shop window mannequin which has been mounted on a robot vacuum cleaner. There's nothing going on behind those eyes. No offence.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Anybody care what this guy thinks?
No!
Kevin in Texas says, Nick, do you remember the elderly during the Brexit debates? They were so tough while the teenagers were snowflakes, and they were willing to be worse off for the sake of Brexit. Now look at them, crying over the winter fuel. Well, that's easy for you to say in Texas, Kevin. Mind you, it does actually snow in Texas. Depends where you are, I suppose. Martin says, Nick, I think Donald Trump and the good old boy party are working on the theory of what would Boris Johnson do?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Yeah, well, he'd lie his face off.
Read my lips, we will not be raising taxes on income or VAT or national insurance.
Liar! Yeah. And then write a column about it, about how he saved the country. Yeah, we appreciate it, Boris. Don't put yourself out on our account. Martin says, I think Donald Trump and No, I read that one just now, just moments ago, if I recall correctly. This one, hi Nick, the England women's team won the European Championship managed by a Dutch woman. As long as the players are English, that's all that matters, surely. No, I don't think so. And I find myself in the uncomfortable position of agreeing with some of the right-wing foamers, but not for the reasons that they are stating. It's not some sort of faux patriotism thing. It just makes sense to me. I mean, if the players are English and if it's the English team, then surely the most important position in the office should also be English. I mean, it should be an English manager, no? I mean, it would be beneficial to the English game if we produce more English managers. But I think the system it is sort of set against that. I mean, there's something that makes it more difficult for English managers to come through. Now, I don't know quite what that is, whether the tests are more onerous or they're more expensive or it takes longer than it does in Europe, but we don't seem to be producing the same quality of manager, do we? And the evidence is there for all to see. Look at the makeup of the English, of the manager class in the Premier League. I mean, there's barely an Englishman in there. Andy in Edinburgh says, there is no way I would support a foreign manager in charge of England. If England got to the final, I'd be painting my fence. Mind you, I am Scottish. Oh, yeah, there is that. Yeah, he is Scottish, yeah. And this Farage is whining and whinging and moaning because some Labour politicians are helping Kamala's campaign. What a hypocrite, says that texter. Yeah, can you believe that? I mean, he just blurted this out. Nigel Farage has accused Labour of direct interference in the US election. And Nigel Farage said that despite having his lips vapour-locked onto Donald Trump's huge orange bottom. Nigel Farage can talk out of his nose. Isn't that incredible? Which is difficult for a man to do who normally talks out of his... Don't say it. Nigel Farage has accused Labour of direct interference in the US election after emerged almost 100 current and former party staff will help the campaign for Kamala Harris. Activists from Skiers' party will spend the next 2.5 weeks canvassing for the Democratic nominee in 4 key battlegrounds areas ahead of the US election on November the 5th. Fireworks night. Farage said on Friday, this is direct election interference by the governing Labour Party and particularly stupid if Trump wins. Who's paying for all this? Labour activists who want to help the Harris campaign will need to pay for their own flights and car hire, but have been told that Democrat volunteers would provide accommodation. Party staff intending to travel are expected to book annual leave for the duration of their trip. And this is the same Nigel Farage, by the way, who said on becoming an MP that it meant he would spend less time in the US supporting Donald Trump's presidential campaign, but believed that the Republicans' re-election was absolutely vital for world peace. He's funny, no? No. Farage spoke at several rallies, including, but not limited to, Trump's 2016 campaign, but has told that this time it'll be a couple of flying visits. He said, "I passionately believe that Trump is the right person to be the next president," says Nigel Farage. Good grief. I can't believe... Is this real life or am I hallucinating? 0345 6060 973. New York. Dave.
Actually, we're back in London, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate.
Well, I come bearing news and glad tidings for the good people of Clacton.
Okay.
Because my office is on Fifth Avenue, just literally down the street from Trump Tower.
Yeah.
And Trump Tower, as you know, is the headquarters of the Trump campaign. And to get to the deli that I like to go to for lunch, I have to walk past Trump Tower.
Ugh.
So this is about 4 weeks ago. I'm walking past Trump Tower, and two women came out of the main entrance. They had Trump Vance badges hanging from their blouses, and I couldn't hear most of their conversation. And I wish I'd been fast enough to record with my phone. I'd be famous at this point. But one of them, what I did hear as they were walking in front of me, one of them said to the other, "Yeah, it was this creepy English guy. I think his name was Nigel Farage."
A creepy English guy. That couldn't possibly be Nigel. It could not be our Nige. Creepy? No.
Yes, and so I want to assure the good people of Clacton that even though their right dishonorable MP for Clacton is not doing constituent surgeries for reasons that remain unclear, but they are being well represented on the global stage by their elected ferret.
That is really good to know.
Nigel Farage is not fit and proper to be in government.
I agree with Nigel Farage. Excellent work, Dave. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, that sounds about right.
We've got a few idiots in our party.
Yeah, no doubt. This says Starmer won't call a second referendum as it will allow Scotland to ask for a second independence referendum. Well, the two aren't necessarily connected, but it would increase the calls for one, probably, yes. But that's not the reason he won't call a second referendum. And this says, "Good evening. I don't remember anyone moaning about Sven-Göran Eriksson. This is pure xenophobia, and only against the Germans. And we still do have foreign players sometimes." Silly comment. We have foreign players in the England team? How does that work? Name them. We have foreign players in the England team. And then Liz has accused me, I assume, silly comment is what the last two words on her missive say. I assume that that's directed at me, that I'm the one who's commenting sillily. But she said we do have foreign players sometimes in the England team. No, we don't. And did anybody moan about Sven-Göran Eriksson? Well, I mean, they moaned about him, during his tenure, but not necessarily because of where he came from. But it must come around every time. Every time that there's particularly after the Mr. Waistcoat, after he took charge for a little while, it wasn't a complete disaster. I mean, we didn't win anything, of course, because it's England. But it wasn't a total bin fire. And so after him, people sort of got used to an English person. And it does seem a bit weird for the English team to be managed by somebody who isn't English. It just does. Now, it's not xenophobia, not on my part. Anyway, some columnists in the right-wing press may be guilty of that, but not me. Completely innocent in every respect. It just seems a bit weird, that's all. This says, what benefit would it be returning to the EU? We would be ruled by France and Germany. Oh, God. I've just been transported back into the Brexit nightmare.
Oh, no.
I'm not going to have that conversation again. We would be ruled by France and Germany. She says, it's not Brexit that is ruining the country, it's the Tories, and especially now Labour. Well, they didn't leave their name, but I can confirm, in case you were wondering, that person is an idiot. And I mean that in a helpful and positive way. Wimborne. Nick.
Yeah?
Where's Wimborne, Nick?
It's near Bournemouth.
Oh, it sounds delightful.
Yeah, it's good for the folk dancing.
Oh. Then I take that back.
Yeah. Is that Nick?
Is this Nick?
I'm talking to Nick. I thought I was talking to your producer, Nick.
Oh,
sorry.
No.
Great to speak to you. Brilliant show.
Thanks, Nick. Go ahead.
Right, okay. Look, this whole business with Brexit, I mean, oh, God. I mean,
Where's he
weeks ago,
gone?
and I'd love to... Am I still there?
I don't know. You faded out just for a moment there. Let's press on, see how far we get.
Okay, so why is Keir Starmer being so silent about Brexit? I mean, do you think it could be down to the fact that he's not putting the country first, he's putting party first? You know, he always says he's putting the country first, but really he's putting his party first. And I'll tell you why. Because what he's really, really worried about is being re-elected in 5 years' time. And if he upsets that red wall that lent the vote to Boris in order for Boris to get in, the red wall that wanted Brexit so much, all right, if he upsets that red wall, he will not get back in 5 years' time. So that's why he can never talk about the elephant in the room.
I don't think the maths add up for you there, Nick, because people who voted for Brexit were old, and old people tend not to stick around for very long. So by the time the next election comes around, the demographics will have changed completely. All of the young people, most of whom wanted to remain in the EU, they couldn't vote because either they couldn't be bothered because they didn't think that us leaving was a possibility, or they were too young to vote. And next time around, in another 4 years and a bit, then they will be old enough to vote, and it will be important, and they will actually make a little note in their diary to go out and blooming exercise their right to vote.
Yeah, look, I hear that. I really do. But look, there's something that we need to do in order to make that actually happen, and that is talk about it. And it's great that you talk about it, and Mr. O'Brien talks about it, but most people really don't. I was in the co-op today, sort of just getting my groceries and bits and pieces, and I was talking to the lady at the cashier about Brexit. You see, I just any opportunity. But here's the thing. This is important. What we need to do, surely, is actually have some kind of public inquiry where we can look at the advantages and disadvantages in actual cash terms to the country. How has Brexit benefited us? How has it disadvantaged us? And if we could have that kind of inquiry that was open, then people would have some information to vote on in 5 years' time, rather than just all the nonsense. If we could see how it's affected us.
Right, I get that. The problem with that, Nick, is that nobody's remotely interested in facts anymore. We're all about feelings now, baby. Aaron Banks said that. One of the chief architects of us leaving the European Union. He said, no one's interested in facts. Their eyes just cloud over if you start giving them facts. Just appeal to their feelings. That's what they're all about. And by that method, they won.
Yeah, whilst I hear that, but, that we've had this whole kind of this is the kind of feeling thing is the whole big deal about this form of politics with Boris and Mr. Trump, isn't it, really? It's this kind of facts and figures and the economy and numbers and all that doesn't matter, which is why you're brilliant mathematics. I mean, why are we not getting the temperatures from you? We love that, Nick.
The temperatures.
What's 7 sevens, Nick? What's 7 sevens?
63. Any fool know that? Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot, Nick. I am available to do mental arithmetic at a moment's notice for a fee. 0345 6060 973. Monica says, Nick, Jack Charlton was manager of the Irish national team for 10 years and we absolutely loved him. In fact, I think he was made an honorary Irish citizen. That's what Monica says. Don't blame me, blame Monica.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Right, so what are we doing?
Given we're doing a radio show, but it does remind me, I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Yeah.
In which we try to solve people's dilemmas, concerns, problems, issues, anything that has been playing on your mind. The less serious, the better. Then send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com. I mean, we also deal with serious problems, but that's not really our thing. Because mostly we're just laughing our faces off. But if you have thought about something and you were wondering why something is as it is, or you were concerned for something that you experience on a daily basis, or something just seemed a bit odd to you, or there's a relationship, or basically any kind of problem that you want the unprofessionals to try to bend their brain at, then send it to nickandcarol@global.com and prepare to be totally satisfied.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? Yes?
No.
0345 6060 973. Brighton. Hello, John.
Hello, Nick.
John.
Yes, you said you lived in Luxembourg. Did you work for Radio Luxembourg?
Radio Luxembourg.
Did you?
Yeah.
God, when would that have been? It must have been donkeys years ago.
Yes, it very much was donkeys years ago. Yeah.
What's that?
I'd say in the mid to late 80s, something like that.
Well, that must have been, 20 years, 30 years ago? God.
The mid to, yeah, something like that, there or thereabouts, yeah.
God.
It was the first professional, apart from working as a DJ in a record store, that was the first professional job I had, yeah.
Was it? Oh, God.
And I was doing a top 40 show, hey! And then I heard a tape of a guy from America called Neil Rogers, and I thought, wow, I'm not going to do this playing music anymore, I'm going to do a phone-in show. And I changed my program overnight without telling anybody, and no one said a word. It's amazing. Amazing. No one from management even mentioned it. I turned a top 40 radio show into a talk show without discussing it with anybody.
Well, no, the managers weren't listening then.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I just wanted to... Have you done your bathroom update? You're doing your renovation. You're always giving a little update about what's going on.
Yeah, there's issues.
Goings on.
Yeah, there's issues. But anyway, I'm not going to give you the play-by-play.
You haven't let the workers in there to use the bathroom, or?
Well, there's nothing in there at the moment. It's all been ripped out. It's all just the old stuff's in a skip, and the new stuff is not installed yet.
It's all happening.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say, it's quite amusing, all the scare stories we're getting about how Rachel Reeves might raise some taxes. Like today, I saw in the Daily Express a scare story about the pension pots. People are in a panic to get their money out of the pension pots because she might change the tax allowance.
Right.
I also heard something about inheritance tax today, then that one, and then... Obviously, we've had the ones in the past few weeks about the non-doms and all this sort of thing. I don't know.
Well, they said that they're not going to, as part of their manifesto, they're not going to increase income tax or national insurance or, what's the other one? VAT. So it leaves them with a limited number of taxes to fiddle about with. And I think the right-wing press are just having a major cow and trying to head her off at the pass, essentially saying, oh, no, you can't do this because you'll upset these people, and you can't do that because you'll upset those people.
Yeah. And then also they're going on about capital gains tax. That one's a big scare story as well, so, yeah.
Well, it shouldn't be a big scare story. Why should people who make their money because of the appreciation of their assets pay less than those who work for a living?
No, I agree with that, but it's just obviously the Daily Express and all those newspapers are using it as a big scare story, and some people are jumping up and down about it. But it's quite amusing, because we don't really... Obviously, the budget has been delayed quite a long time, so don't really know how she's going to do it.
No, we won't know until we know.
Solve that black hole.
Exactly.
So we'll see, won't we?
I suppose so, yes. All right, grip on to your wallet, John. Don't let anybody get anywhere near it. Sam says, your caller was talking about us having another referendum on Brexit because we want to rejoin. And that person is forgetting one thing. Does the EU want us back? We can't join if we're not wanted, says Sam. I'd be amazed if they even considered it. I mean, the amount of trouble that we have caused for them, I wouldn't even, if I was France and Germany, I wouldn't even pick up the phone to us. I would delete our number from my phone if I was France or Germany. This text says, I think you need to take the keys to Downing Street. Your wit, intelligence and cutting comments are what's needed. Carol can be your Angela. No. What? Work in the same building?
No.
Yeah, I think Carol's with me on that. Hey, Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't want to work in the same building. We don't even want to work in the same country. We do it by remote control. She's in France and I'm over here. She's sitting there painting her toes by her exquisite executive pool. And I'm stuck in here, in this country, in the rain and the damp, and I've got mould grown out my ears. But you know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
He says, I'm not sure whether to join one of Elon's rockets to Mars or just hang out in your studio and ignore the world, says Simon, in a well-known purple hotel at Heathrow Airport. What are you doing there? Waiting to leave. Go somewhere better. And Tina in Ebervale says, good evening, Nick. If you ever want to name your band one day, take the colour of the top you're wearing, grey, and then put it with your worst nightmare. At the moment, I would call my band the Black Metal Staircase. Not that exciting, really, but I did have the Flowery Johnson band once, says Tina in Ebervale. Take the colour of the top you're wearing, then put it with your worst nightmare. Well, my worst... The only... I wouldn't call it a nightmare, really, but it is the only dream that recurs is when I'm running out of time on the radio. And this is probably in relation to a job I had at another place, when we used to have to pull CDs out of the wall. There'd be this massive rack of thousands of CDs on the wall, and instead of just pressing the big green button marked next, you'd have to take them out of the wall and put them in the machine, and then wait for the machine to dial up the track, and then play it. And until the machine had done that, until you'd gone and found, cassette CD number 1304, and put it in the machine and dialed up track 5 and waited for it to find the beginning of it, you couldn't play the music. You had to do all of that before it was ready to go. And more often than not, at least some point in the programme, I'd run out of time. And there'd be this huge silence on the air between tracks. And so, yeah, that is a recurring concern of mine when I'm asleep, that I'm going to run out of time. Won't be able to slam that CD in the machine fast enough. But, that's just my problem, and I don't talk much about it.
Stop whining.
Oh, OK, then. 0345 6060 973. This text says, I worked as a barber for 20 years, and nobody mentioned the EU until the week before the vote. Well, that can't be true. Maybe they just didn't mention it to you. They wanted you to concentrate on doing a good job. They didn't want you to be furiously angry while you were about them with scissors.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to punch him in the face.
This says band name, Toad the Wet Sprocket. Yeah, that is one of the worst names for a band that has ever existed. Yeah, I mean, Hedgehoppers Anonymous is pretty bad, but Toad the Wet Sprocket. I mean, I don't care what that band is like. I am not listening to a single solitary note that they play. I'm just not remotely interested. I mean, I'm annoyed just looking at it written down on a screen. Toad the wet sprocket. Anybody want to hear them?
No.
No. I'm very angry. This says, before Brexit, the public talked about more important things. For example, John Major created a government telephone line where you can report roadworks with no works actually happening. It was called the Cones Hotline. Bring back the Cones Hotline. That's an excellent idea. They could also bring back dial-a-disc. Anybody remember that? You kids don't know you're born. If we wanted to listen to a record in the top 20, we used to have to dial it up on the phone and sit there with that tinny music coming down the phone at us in only one of our ears. You believe that? Message coming in from next door. Are you talking about during the Dark Ages? Shut up. Cornwall. Malcolm.
Oh, good evening, Nick.
Yes, Malcolm.
Couple of three things.
Okay.
I want to start Trump, first of all. There's something which is I find very perturbing, and it was explained beautifully tonight on a program on the TV. And they're confusing polling and betting.
Yes.
And they're telling people, oh, Trump is doing well in the betting, and he's looking favourite, and he's leading.
Yeah.
Well, there's been a punter who has bet $30 million on Donald Trump winning the election.
Wow.
And that has put Trump way ahead in the betting, right? Which means absolutely nothing.
No.
It just means that some sucker has put 30 million on a punt on the crazy man, yeah?
It's also true that a lot of the polls that are coming out aren't really polls that have been conducted with the sort of rigorousness that you would expect. Yes. And they are coming out when suggesting that it's a very, very tight race, or Donald Trump is now leading in swing states. And what they're doing is they're trying to put in the mind of the general public, and his fans in particular, the idea that Donald Trump cannot possibly lose, so that if he does, it will give them the excuse that they need to do another January the 6th.
Yeah, I think the Democrats are worried, Nick. I mean, Obama was out the other night, and I got to be honest with you, I found Obama the other night. I don't know if you watched it. Watch it if you can. I found Obama a little bit disconcerting, in that he was doing. Do you remember the Neil Kinnock when he did An American Voice?
Yeah.
In 1992 or whenever it was,
Right.
And they reckon that was one of the two or three key factors that lost Labour the election then. Now, Obama came out and he did like a strange American accent of voice. And I don't think that sort of thing will go down well. Obama is a highly educated, very clever man, but he played a bit of not a buffoon, but, playing down to an audience, so to speak. But watch the video if you can. I was a little bit worried and miffed at that. But a couple of other things, Nick.
Yes.
Streeting and Starmer. Streeting did an interview the other day, and he spoke about Brexit, and obviously he spoke about the NHS, and he was speaking about, and this, again, I was a little bit miffed, he spoke about Labour finding the sweet spot with Europe.
What does that mean?
Well, we don't need to go back into Europe, he says.
Right.
It's a settled matter, he says. And there's a sweet spot which we're going to find. And I'm thinking, you, my friend, are an absolute moron. But I agree with the people who say that Starmer and Labour, they cannot go near Brexit, because you said earlier on, but it's the old people who got us out of the EU. Well, that's really, really, and again, here's another weekend I may upset you, which I don't want to do, but it was actually people in the Red Wall and Wales and Cornwall and places like that.
Right, no doubt, but it remains true that it was the older demographic that voted to leave the European Union. Once you got past 55, 60 years old, then those people were more likely to vote leave than remain. Below that age, and it's the other way around.
Yeah, but the point I'm making, Nick, is this. It's in the key Labour seats that the right or the wrong demographics for Labour are sitting.
Yeah.
In other words, if he goes the EU thing, he's on a hiding to nothing because he's got slim majority up there.
Yeah,
and then you got the safe. You're on about the elderly.
Right.
They're largely in safe Tory seats next. Now,
yeah, but the thing with the elderly is they aren't going to live forever. And so if you just wait a while, then they won't be voting anymore.
No, but again, there's the age-old thing, Nick, that it used to be 50, maybe it's now 60 or 65. You vote socialist until you're 40, 50.
But you know why, though?
And then you turn weird.
Ordinarily,
and you vote Tory.
ordinarily that is true. Yeah. But the equation that causes people to move from left to right in their middle years is not there anymore because people aren't getting on the housing ladder and they're not acquiring wealth that would make them vote Conservative because they feel, they get all selfish and they get concerned and they get massive debts and, they've got a mortgage and they're paying their car and they've got their kids in school and all of that. So that makes you more Conservative, small c, which makes you more likely to vote Tory. But people aren't acquiring wealth anymore. That equation is bust. They're not buying houses and they're not buying cars, so they can't afford them.
People are, Nick. Look, my daughter, an example, very quickly, 15 seconds. She's an unfortunate now landlord because she's a student now again since the end of September, right? Gone to Glasgow. And she she's got a mortgage. She's 3 years into it. But she has to go to Glasgow to get this qualification to become a clinical psychologist, right? You know the form there, Nick, in that field, right? So she doesn't want to sell this house because it's a fantastic house, brand new, in a wonderful spot. She can't sell it because she'll never get another one like it.
Right.
She dropped in really lucky, right?
Yeah,
so
but you're giving me a specific instance in order to disprove a generalisation, Malcolm.
But there are more people like her than you think who are having to move around, who have a house, so on and so forth.
Well, there are more people than I think. Well, where's the evidence for that?
Well, just look into it.
I will do nothing of the sort. Just look into it to prove your argument for you.
Look,
no.
English football, right?
Yes.
I'm a Welshman living in Cornwall, which is largely a country in its own right, and it is Celtic, right? So I'm a Welsh Celt living in Cornish Celt land, okay? Yeah. And the England thing is such that England, and this again miffed me the other day, there were people on the radio saying that England don't need a foreign manager. We've got English managers who can do the deal. Look, and he said that there's never been a top English manager since Alf Ramsey, blah, 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 blah. Alf Ramsey, when he got the job, was nothing. He'd won nothing, right? But then he won the World Cup, and all of a sudden, he's God, yeah?
Yes.
But we've had a series of managers, and you forget Francis Ford Coppola was England manager, right, for a brief time.
Francis Ford Coppola?
No, Fabio Capello, right? he was England manager for 4, 5, 6 years, okay? And before him, Sven Goran Eriksson. But the point is, look, Nick, those two guys, I just looked it up while I was in the queue waiting to speak to you, right? Fabio Capello won about 7 titles in 15 years as a top manager.
Right.
Plus 2 in Juventus, which were taken back because there was a bit of naughtiness. Sven Goran Eriksson, he won 4 league titles, okay? I don't think there's been an English England manager who's won a sausage in his time as a manager.
Right. But that could have something to do with not just the manager, but the players on the pitch. Right. I think it might have something to do with them. And the evidence for that is how many English players line up for a Premier League match. Not a lot.
Oh, no, there's more. Well, you look, Nick, at that England team now. It is absolutely pedigree. They should be winning a European Championship as a Welshman.
I'm not sure about that because even the Premier League clubs, our most glittering, starry clubs, when they play other Premier League clubs, then they look like geniuses. When they go to Europe and play other major clubs in Europe, then they come back with their tails between their legs.
Now, some of some of Liverpool, Man City's, and who's your team? Arsenal's best players, and even Chelsea and Man U. Some of their best players, Nick, are English boys. Now, finally, Nick, right, on this England thing, if we're going to go the route of we can't have a foreign manager, then the Nike shirts must go, and all the England football.
That's got nothing to do with it.
All the England football fans who have bought a Nike, that's an American company.
No, that's got nothing to do with it.
Get rid of their shirts, right? Because and we need to go to Fred Teddy jerseys and Gola football boots.
Yeah.
Remember Gola, Nick?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, but it has absolutely nothing to do with it, Malcolm. The kit they wear is neither here nor there.
I think this manager, Thomas Tuchel, I think he will be good for England. I think he's got the confidence that Southgate didn't have.
Okay, you know what? I'll give you a £5 bet that he won't be. I'll give you a £5 bet that within 2 years, he leaves in under a massive cloud.
Well, it's 18 months. He's only got a contract for 18 months, hasn't he?
All right. Okay. Within 18 months, but before his contract is up, people will be calling for him to go.
Finally, Nick, Starmer.
I thought the last one was finally. Oh, blimey! How many more finalists have you got? It's like it's like old Blue Eyes is forever doing a farewell tour. Go ahead.
Here's one for you to watch, right? There are 3 of the cabinet and his deputy, Angela Rayner, right? You've got the transport girl, and you've got who's the other one? And there's another one, the law one, prisons and law, right? And those 3, they've bypassed the Treasury and they've gone to Starmer to ask for money.
Yes.
For more money. And I said, look, the legals, we need more money. Transport, you're on about HS2 and improving things up north and Wales and all the rest of it. We need more money. And you've got and the third one, Rayner with housing, right? And those are 3 key policy areas. And if he doesn't give them more money, the media, the smart media, are saying Crace. What's his name? John Crace, I think, the smart guy, Labour man. They are saying that Starmer could be in serious trouble. Forget all this, the glasses and the suits. If there's
I have done. It's a lot of fuss signifying nothing.
Well, they're saying if there's these 3 are seriously asking for money and they don't get it, look out, there's going to be a problem, Nick, I think. So I think Starmer needs to wake up, smell the coffee, get rid of his glasses, they're horrible. I really don't like him them.
Well, what if you can't see without them?
Well, go and get some...
Just fumble about the place. Yeah,
NHS glasses, for God's sake.
That's right.
That's what he should be wearing.
He could do what Donald Trump does and just feel his way around.
Touch, feel, that's what I do.
Think about it, Keir. Thanks a lot, Mark.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Right, whatever.
0345 6060 973. That's almost this.
Right, whatever.
Is the opposite of this.
Oh, hello.
I like them both equally. It says, before Brexit, the public talked about more. Now I've done that, bring back the Cones hotline. And then I did dial a disc. And then I got an insult from the boy next door. Can you believe that? I didn't come here to be insulted, you know. I can stay at home and be insulted. Joseph emails, I was a drummer in a band in the early 1980s called the Five Pliers. There were 3 of us. We spent 6 months in California. Well, that's great. I don't think it counts as one of the worst band names of all time, if that's what you were going for. And Bob in Leon C says, tinned new potatoes, rubbed in oil, put in an air fryer for 20 minutes, roast, lovely. Some explode, but you should get at least 6 edible little roasties out of a tin. And they taste far better than normal tinned potatoes. Who buys tinned potatoes? What would you do that for? Tinned potatoes? What, is this a text from the 1950s? Are you prepping for Armageddon? Tinned potatoes? 0345 6060 973. Bromley, hello, Will. Will? Is there
Hello,
any...
Nick.
Ah,
Hello,
there you
Nick.
are. Yes, just in time.
Yeah, sorry to keep you. So it's just on Liz Kendall's proposal to send mental health coaches into mental health wards.
Yes.
So my partner's a psychiatrist, and she was saying she can't think of one patient that would be suitable on a acute NHS mental health ward to have a job coach come in to see them. Because these are the people that are the most mentally disturbed. I mean, the bar to getting admitted to mental health ward is getting higher and higher, really. So these are people that are really mentally disturbed. I mean, talk about kicking somebody when they're down, sending in a mental health coach to interview them when they're floridly psychotic, thinking the police are out to get them or the FBI are out to get them or whatever, or, come in after a serious suicide attempt. It's just completely wildly inappropriate, really. I would suggest that Liz Kendall should probably get a psych evaluation herself.
Is that your professional opinion?
Yeah.
All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Will. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, what is up with this government? I'm not entirely satisfied, not so far. I mean, I suppose that we should wait and see what happens with the budget, but, the noises we've been hearing... this is not the change that people voted for. Work and Pension Secretary Liz Kendall is going to press ahead with a £1.3 billion cut to the UK's annual sickness benefits, the same one that was announced by the previous Conservative government. No! You remember them, don't you? This is according to people briefed on the plans. The Labour government is expected to retain contentious changes to the work capability assessment that were introduced last year by the then Prime Minister Fishy Sunak.
This government.
That government. A continuation of Tory nastiness must be the change that people voted for. Of course it blooming well isn't. The work capability assessment is used to decide eligibility for working age incapacity benefits, whose claimants have risen by a quarter since 2019 to about 3.1 million. And the cost to taxpayers is now equivalent to 1% of GDP, up from 0.74% in 2019. And you might think that at least part of the reason that we have more people off sick is that the health service has been off sick for the past 14 years. You might assume that if the health service was well, then people who rely on it might be well too. But then that's just common sense and nobody believes in that anymore.
Correct.
Pushing ahead with the cuts would narrow eligibility for what's described as the more generous benefits regime, open to people who are considered unable to work or to look for work because of a long-term health condition. About 500,000 people are set to lose out. But dropping the cuts would require the Department for Work and Pensions to find £1.3 billion in savings from elsewhere. And that means taking from the better off, which would cause the Daily Mail to have a fit that you could see from space. And for some reason, Keir Starmer seems more afraid of that than anything else. Many charities agree on the need for reform or regime, of a regime that discourages disabled people from moving into employment because they risk a sudden loss of benefit and would struggle if the job didn't work out. But rather than embarking on wider reform, the changes announced at last year's budget focused on narrowing eligibility for incapacity benefits, in particular so that fewer people with mobility constraints and mental health conditions would qualify. Yeah, that seems totally Tory, doesn't it? And just so you know, the personal independence payment is, for those in great need of constant care, £183 a week. The lower rate is £100 a week, or about £14 a day. Don't spend it all in the same... Oh, no, too late. You've done that already. So rather than fix the problem of a broken health service, the idea is to punish those that are suffering because of the broken health service, which sounds very, very Tory. Here comes the new boss, same as the old boss.
Rock and roll!
And those measures will mean that by 2028, about 450,000 fewer people will be considered to have limited capability for work and will therefore have their benefits cut by up to £4,900 a year. What's happening? I mean, seriously, what is happening? David Finch, Assistant Director at the Health Foundation think tank, said it's largely a cost-saving exercise. If those changes go ahead, it will effectively place that group into hardship very quickly. Yeah, and here's the thing. It's all just window dressing. Very few people affected by the planned reforms are expected to move into work as a result. This is according to estimates published by the Office for Budget Responsibility, which showed that this policy of potentially ruining the life of 500,000 people will increase employment by just 10,000. But it would please the owners of the right-wing press, who seem to run this country like they've got a remote control with a 3,000-mile reach. And whoever is in charge of the country at the time happens to be their robot.
Affirmative.
Terrible. Did I sum that up correctly, Will? He's on the line, but I think he's put the phone down, put his feet up, and he's relaxed on the other side of the room. Yeah, I think I got it right. Completely correct in every respect. This says, there's a lot more to ridicule Starmer about than there is Trump. There's a lot more to ridicule Starmer about than there is Trump, says this person, who has remained anonymous. Leave the bloke alone and focus on the abysmal legacy that is Biden. Wow. A dingaling speaks. Are you kidding me? There's a lot more to ridicule Starmer about than there is Trump. Well, where do I even begin? I'll start here.
You know, nobody has done more for Christianity. Nobody has done more for religion of all type than me.
Than him. Yeah, no one. Not Jesus, nobody. God came to me and he said, "Sir," God said, "Sir, you are the best thing I have ever made." I said, "Thank you." How about this?
Right now, in a number of states, the laws allow a baby to be born from his or her mother's womb in the 9th month. It is wrong. It has to change.
Yeah, it has to change. Yeah, no, there's, yeah, you're right. There's a lot more to ridicule Keir Starmer about than there is Donald Trump.
And in 6 states, you're allowed to kill the baby after the baby is born.
After the baby has been born in 6 states, said Donald Trump. But there's a lot more to ridicule Keir Starmer about than there is Donald Trump. Right. I mean, I'm not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor.
But I think you may need a doctor.
I'm doing great with black men.
Your husband is doing great with black men, Melania.
I don't care.
She's actually not that bothered. Joanne says, Nick, don't you think Wes Streeting is just insulting the public by telling us that employers won't employ fatties? So we've all got to be sticks, and once in the door, we can stop the jabs, which might put the weight back on. We've got to be... Right. Yeah, that whole jab thing, I don't know. I mean, it might be a miracle cure for people who have tried absolutely everything. And I do understand that once you put the weight on, it is incredibly difficult to get it off. So it's like what's the best cure for a hangover? Don't start drinking in the first place. Don't put the weight on in the first place. Every time you feel that you're putting a tiny bit of weight on, take it off, because your body, if you go past a certain amount, your body will cling onto that weight and will not let you take it off. Your body will work against you. And if that injection can help you when all else has failed, then I suppose it's worth a go, unless it isn't. I mean, it hasn't been around very long. It does seem quite a serious measure. And now the government is going to be handing it out willy-nilly. What could possibly go wrong? This text says, a German manager that'd have been better giving the job to Ali McCoist or William Wallace. Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't think so, no. It does seem a bit strange, though, to me. I mean, and it seems doubly strange to me that I'm agreeing with the right-wing foamers in the national press. But I'm agreeing with them for different reasons. It just seems odd to me. It's not some sort of faux patriotism kick that I'm on. This text says, Declan Rice and Jack Grealish are Irish. Who cares if the England manager is not English if we win? Yeah, if we win. I mean, all of that will go out the window if we win, although I think it will have an asterisk next to it. I mean, if we won the World Cup with a German coach, I think that would have an asterisk next to it, don't you? I mean, with all of the English coaches that we've had since 1966, we've done absolutely nothing. Zero. Not a solitary thing. And then a German comes along and suddenly we're a great team. I think people would have a problem with that.
Leading Britain's conversation, Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
A big sack of monkey nuts.
That's what we got going on over here. A big sack of monkey nuts. Paul in Kent says Labour are trying to woo countries that might as well be on the moon in terms of trade with the UK, but still have their pathetic red lines for Europe. I can see France when by the coast on a clear day, says Paul. Sky News recently reported that by 2035, Britain could be worse off to the tune of £311 billion due to leaving the European Union. People, time to listen to experts, not that bloke who looks like he dresses from charity bags left on the street and has a book to sell.
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah. He looks like he's taken the clothes out of the charity bags and has dressed himself in the charity bags. And he has a book to sell. Ain't that right, Bodge? Yeah. Anybody bought that book yet?
No.
Who's willing to admit it? Let's see now who's been waiting the longest. I'll be totally fair about this. It looks like Devon. Hello, Rose.
Oh, hi, Nick.
Rose.
Hi, darling. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that, really. 3 things. I came across a Brexit bonus today.
Oh.
I know. Well, there's an European Union youth orchestra, and luckily we've set ourselves free from any danger of any young person in this country playing in it.
Thank goodness for that.
I know, yes. I wanted to say something about this going into wards.
Yeah. Now, wait a minute, that whole youth orchestra thing. We could have been the ones at the back with the triangle. And now that has been cruelly taken from us.
No, we've got wonderful young musicians in this country.
Yeah, we do. We're known for it. I mean, it's one of the few things in life that we excel in. We punch above our weight in the arts, and successive governments seem determined to crush it out, to stamp it out like the butt end of a cigarette.
Yeah, it's quite extraordinary, isn't it? Yeah, yes. We've got marvellous music schools as well as colleges to which people come hot foot from abroad.
Yeah. Because
can't wait to get there for the tuition.
Because there aren't enough British kids coming through with the requisite skills because our schools don't teach that no more.
No, I think my niece and nephew were very lucky, actually. They're in their late 20s now, you see, so, yeah. Shall I go on to this? I just think it's well out of order. It's this going into hospital wards.
Yeah.
The very idea. I mean, is this a police state? Because this is another breaking of boundaries. Boundary breaking is just running amok in this country in all sorts of ways. There's no sanctuary here, is there? I was thinking about when my mum was nursing. Matron wouldn't have allowed it. She'd have said, "What are you doing here, may I ask? This is a hospital ward." You'd see these people coming in, talking to people about jobs. You know, they've got no right, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much in life that comes with the word unprecedented, and that's just one of the unprecedented things that we're experiencing in a tsunami of stuff that we've never seen before.
Yes, it's more and more, you know, the governments, well, looking at the previous government, they want a small state when it comes to benefiting the population, but they want a completely powerful state controlling the people.
Yes.
That's control. The hospital is run by, not the matron now, but people who are trained to run it, not by the government.
Experts.
And then you've got this whole thing, you know, injecting people as a sort of, you'll be able to get a job if we inject you with this. Who the God God hell knows what that is going to do inside that person's body.
It just seems extraordinary to me. I mean, I don't know very much about it. I am not a medical professional, but it does seem like an extreme measure, and for the government to just be cheerfully waving that jab around as though it couldn't ever cause anybody any pain or complications just seems, well, it seems a bit extraordinary to me. But, you know, if it does help them, I guess so. But it shouldn't be a requisite. The government shouldn't be coming and punching it in your arm. If you want to go get it, then that's up to you.
Yes, quite. But there's going to be coercion. But you see, it seems to me you've got everything for the benefit of very, very large industries, haven't you? You've got the food industry is making them ill, and then the pharmaceutical industry is making fortunes from taking the weight off.
Right.
It's all very neat, isn't it?
Well, in much the same way as if you give somebody an out-of-work benefit, that's socialism. But if you give a giant international oil company hundreds of millions of pounds to clear up their mess after they've taken all the profits, then that's just good business sense.
Yeah, I know, and it just seems to me that these vast companies are actually running, well, the world, let alone this country, and certainly the Daily Mail is.
They do seem to have an extraordinarily outsized lever of control over whoever happens to be in power. It just seems... It makes my mind boggle as to why precisely is that. Because their voters, their readers rather, they're not so numerous that they are not to be challenged. So what else is going on there?
I don't know. It is weird, isn't it? It's I don't know. Maybe it's just a sort of zeitgeist thing that you put out these terrible Mail and Telegraph and thing headlines, and it kind of filters through the population, you know, because there's so much hate in this country, isn't there? So you'd give them something to hate.
Yeah, and people are talking about that as though that's a new phenomenon, as though people like, the oily charlatans that we know and dislike have sort of inculcated the nation with hatred. But I don't think that's true. I think we've always had it. It's just that it seemed, for a while there, it was impolite to express it out loud. And now certain individuals have made it acceptable, beneficial. It seems, a positive thing to let out your inner ire.
Yes, they've tapped into it, haven't they?
Yeah.
I've got a band name. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop your flow, but I've just thought I might get this in.
Go on.
Well, it isn't actually a band. It's, you know how there's something that weather forecasts say. And I've often thought Thundery Downpours would be a good name for a band, if a bit idiotic.
That's good. Oh, no, I like that. Thundery Downpours.
Rock and roll!
Yeah. No, I like that.
I thought you were going to say, good God.
No, that's an excellent name for a rock band. Thundery Downpours.
Or an idiotic rock band, maybe.
Well, aren't they all?
No.
No, that's right. No, they're not. No.
But we are...
Go on.
You want me to go? We just are being ruled by these vast profit-making organisations.
Yeah.
And the right-wing papers, of course, are owned by them. I mean, they're owned by these billionaires who are... I mean, it's a great big network of investments and, you know, I know nothing about this, but this is the picture that we're getting. Don't you think?
Well, I think it's a pretty accurate picture. Yes, there's... we're being jerked around like we're... marionettes.
Absolutely, yeah. All
right, thanks a lot, Rose. Cheers, my dear. As soon as your new album comes out, want you to let me have a copy straight away, all right? The Thunderous Downpours. Craig says, hi, the colour of my top and the worst nightmare for a band name, Tart.
In the ornamental surge, where thunder reigns supreme. Clash of wheels, where lightning strikes with might, unyielding its course through darkness and through light. The beams of wit unfold in victory or defeat. complete.
Oh 0345 6060 973. Let's have Sherborne. Graham.
Oh, hello, Nick. Oh, lovely to hear you. It's like going down memory lane sometimes with you, because I'm the obscene age of 76. And
76 years old. Yes.
I remember Radio Luxembourg.
Yes.
Hiding under the covers at about 12 years of age, hoping my parents wouldn't hear the steam radio going in the background.
Well, you'd have it in one ear, wouldn't you? Mono, only one ear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, of course, in those days, if you probably remember, you probably knew them, actually, Kenny and Cash.
Yeah, the Kenny and Cash show. Well, they were on Capital Radio.
It was Capital. I'm sorry, you're dead right.
No, they may have. They may have been on. I don't think they were Luxembourg. I think they were on Radio London.
Yeah, they probably were. I remember I used to sort of creep the dial around, and it was oscillating between the 2 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
no, I think when Capital Radio first started, Kenny and Cash, Kenny Everett and Dave Cash, were the breakfast show. Because I used to get up, and you know how difficult it is for a child to get up, the age of sort of 11, 12, 13. You just cling to bed like it's life itself. But I used to set the alarm and get up about an hour before I had to, just to warm up the radiogram, which you'll also recall. Because it took forever. I mean, you'd turn it on and the light would come on the dial, but no sound would come out for like about a minute. It seemed to take forever. And I'd sit there, pressed my ear against the radiogram in the living room and listen to Kenny and Cash on the radio. Yeah.
We have very similar backgrounds. I tell you one thing I wanted to say that forgive me, but it is actually, I feel, rather important. You were saying about the government suggesting that these weight loss injections. I have some real experience with this because I had a heart attack a little while ago. We got some a bit of a gut on me afterwards, and the only way I could get rid of it was Mounjaro injections. No side effects, and I lost just 2 stone in a very short space of time, and I've not gone back, even though I went on an amazing holiday, fully paid for. What do you call it when they throw everything in?
Complimentary.
Complimentary. Yeah. 3 meals a day, and I didn't put any weight on. And honestly, I cannot begin to suggest that what the government's suggesting is, take these injections, these very good injections, and you will lose weight. But what the stupid idiots are saying is, and perhaps you can go back to work on your bloody bike, matey. Come on, are you more interested in the economy or actually helping people, live longer?
Right. They should dissociate the one from the other. Let's deal with one problem at a time. That is quite correct. So I'm curious as to how this worked. Did it just make you not want to eat?
Yes, I had no desire for. There was no hunger pangs, and it's quite staggering actually how it works. And
so you actually go into starvation mode.
Well, yeah, I suppose you could call it that, but you don't feel as you're in a starvation code. You basically have no desire to be hungry, or you're not hungry.
But I'm surprised that your body, after you've stopped the jabs, doesn't doesn't want to claw all that weight back on.
Well, that's what they say, and funny enough, for me that didn't happen. I had no side effects. I haven't put the weight on, and I feel great. I really. And they say, I don't know how true this is, but they say these jabs are supposed to prolong your life.
Well, yeah.
You think that's true?
Assuming that they don't kill you, they can make you live longer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if it's worked for you, then the only thing we can conclude is that it worked for you.
Well, yes, I know it may not work for other people, but for me it is. I tell you what, I'll give you a call from the other side when I do pass on and tell you how I got on.
All right, well, I look forward to that. Thanks a lot, Graham.
Nice speaking to you,
Cheers,
mate.
mate. Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. What was that message that you just put up there for me? What was that message? You put it up and then you disappeared it before I even read it. Just undo your delete and I'll read it. Go on, I double dare you. I am not a scientist, he says, so do not take this as fact. Oh, well, then we can completely ignore everything he's saying. Not a scientist? Well, then no one is remotely interested in anything that you have to say.
I'm not a doctor.
He's not a scientist either. I'm not a scientist, so do not take this as fact, but if the injection makes you stop wanting to eat and you lose weight, your stomach will get smaller, and so you won't put the weight back on because your stomach is smaller. Yeah, but keep in mind that he's not a scientist.
I know nothing.
He doesn't know anything. He doesn't know anything. Trump doesn't know anything. Smug doesn't know anything.
I don't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. Nobody knows anything.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
We are running late. This text says, Nick, have you seen the new Alien film yet? It's set between the events of Alien and Aliens, and I think you'll love it, he says. I'm assuming it's a he. I think I will love it too. Mostly. And this text says, sorry, splodginess abounds. It's a late entry for the worst name for a band. Splodginess abounds. Yeah, that is pretty bad. They had a song called Writing on the Sole of Your Slipper with a Biro, which is weird as it's what I used to do when I was a kid, says that texter. Yeah, I used to do that too. Particularly after the sole of your slipper became detached from its upper, and you used to flap about like a drunken duck's bill. 0345 6060 973. Hey, you know what? I've forgotten to do the organ donor thing. So I'll have to do that tonight. You'll be stunned and considerably appalled. Believe me. York. Hello, Jan.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate.
I thought you'd forgotten me. I've been waiting ages.
No, I remembered you, and I got to you just as soon as I could. Your call is important to us. Thank you for waiting.
Right. I hope this is worth it. Earlier on, I was listening to Rachel, and she was talking about the David Gilmour concert at the Royal Albert Hall.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently Guy Pratt told the audience to put their phones away.
The bassist? No. Guy Pratt is... hang on a minute. Guy Pratt is the bassist that Dave Gilmour has been using outside of Pink Floyd.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And Guy Pratt told them to put their phone away. I think it would have come with a bit more gravitas if David Gilmour had told them that.
Well, anyway, they did put their phones away, apparently. So Rachel said...
Right. What, Rachel was there, was she?
Yeah.
How'd you get tickets for that?
Well, I don't know. But she was definitely there.
Huh.
In a box, if you believe it.
Oh, my... Really?
Yep.
Well, I'll go to the foot of our stairs. If I had any stairs, Jan, I'd be at the foot of them right now.
I'm surprised you weren't there.
Well, who can get tickets for that kind of thing?
Well, if she did.
Yeah, well, I'm not connected.
But this phone thing, I think it's a good idea if everybody said, put your phones away or we're not playing.
Yes. Well,
Don't you?
I've been to one event where they gave you a bag and you put your phone in the bag and you could wear it as like a crossbody bag, so you didn't have to give your phone away. They didn't put it in a locker, and then you get sort of separation anxiety. You had it on you, but you couldn't actually get into it because the bag locked, and the only way that it could open is on your exit from the event. They would open the bag for you with some sort of magnetic thing. I can't remember how exactly it worked. But so you had your phone on you, but you couldn't use it.
You couldn't get into it,
Which was a brilliant idea. I think every single event should have that.
Yeah, I do. Apparently Bob Dylan does the same thing.
Yeah, well, I would imagine he does. Yeah, I think Madonna did the same thing as well. You know, I was just in London's fashionable West End this week, and I went to the Van Gogh exhibition at the National.
Uh-huh.
I was the only person, it seemed to me, I was the only person there that was actually looking at the pictures. Everybody else was taking a picture of the pictures.
Gosh.
And as soon as they'd taken the picture, that was it. Then they moved on to the next one. As though they weren't remotely interested in looking at the pictures. They just wanted a record of them having been there so they could put it up on the internet to get a thumbs up from someone they didn't know. For crying out loud.
Isn't it?
Those pictures had not been seen together for since the man himself painted them and lent them up against his own wall. And they'd come from all over the world, from Germany and Australia and New Zealand and Holland, and you name it. They'd all come. It was like they'd all sprouted wings and had come here for this one momentous event, to put them all together in the same place at the same time, for only the second time in history. And I was the only one who was actually
looking at it,
looking at them. Yeah.
And they take the pictures and they put it up the internet, and then they'll stick it on the phone forever, and they'll never look at it again, probably, will they?
Yeah, but there's no point in looking at it again because it's on a tiny 2-inch screen and you can't see it properly. Whereas it was in real life right in front of them, and they weren't interested.
You can't believe it, can you, really?
No, I can't.
Oh, I don't know.
People, eh? I've met them and I'm not keen.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Oh,
good work, Jan. Thanks for that.
All right.
Cheers, my dear. Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. Let's see now. Hang on. Oh, one moment. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Oh, hi.
Yes, Jan.
Hi, Nick. You can just squeeze me in. I think I'll keep to this album business, and
yes,
it seems to be the thing. I'll come to you about Trump another time because there's not much time. So I got quite excited to see that they're reissuing the Animals album from the early 60s, the House of the Rising Sun and others, but they're bringing it out in yellow vinyl. I've got nothing to play it on, but I'll have to get something to play it on. For the 60th, it's their 60th anniversary of the Animals. Yeah.
Why yellow?
I don't know. They say that's what I was wondering about you, but they say that this is the. They were part of the British R&B explosion.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
60s. Well, you were only a young infant then, weren't you?
Yeah, it was way too early for me. I was 10 in 1970, so I missed the 60s essentially.
Yeah, but you must have caught up with it though. Because
yeah.
So look, they're reissuing it, the House of the Rising Sun, and I thought.
Oh, I guess yellow. Hang on a minute, yellow because of the sun.
Well, yeah, maybe for that. No, but this is for National Album Day.
Right.
They're coinciding the Animals. I don't know what they called the album. Maybe just the Animals. But they're reissuing.
I'd have to say that coloured vinyl, in my experience, is not a good idea because it never sounded very good. Like ordinary black vinyl. I mean, this is back when I were a lad and I was buying vinyl albums. Because they used to bring out picture discs and all sorts of things, and the punk singles used to come out in all sorts of, like, the green and orange and all that, and they always sounded much worse than ordinary vinyl. So maybe they've improved the technology since then. I don't know.
But Nick, they're bringing it out to coincide with the National Album Day.
Yeah, I thought they'd had that already. Huh?
National Album Day is tomorrow, so they're
is it? Right.
They're bringing out the Animals. That thing, they're reissuing it as a yellow vinyl.
House of the Rising Sun, yeah.
It covers. They're doing all the covers that they did of the classics, which I'm looking forward to hearing because I don't know them, like Ray Charles. I mean, I know the singers, but not the music that they're putting on this album.
Well, that sounds a delight.
National Album Day.
National Album Day. Says who?
Tomorrow.
Who says that?
It's tomorrow.
Yeah, but who said it though? Who made it National Album Day? I want the name of the person.
Oh no! It's in the article that I've learned.
Yeah, that may be, but who says it's a National Album Day? That's what I want to know. Somebody should definitely get to the bottom of that. Jan, got to go, but thanks for that. Here, I listened to some, not all, because if I listen to all of it, it would take from now until the end of time. I think it's like a 7 or 8 album compilation of the Faces playing at the BBC. And for what tracks I've heard so far, is just sensational. Because that was a band. Got to go, Jan, but cheers, my dear.